On May 31st, White House sources stated that the U.S. would send Ukraine M142 High Mobility Artillery Systems, or HIMARS, as part of its upcoming June weaponry package. As Russian forces expand deeper into Ukraine's Donbas area, with the reported seizure of the majority of the city of Severodonetsk, controversy and speculation swirled around Biden's reply to a journalist's inquiry last Monday that the U.S. will not send to Ukraine weapons that will strike into Russia. That came after days of allegations in the American media that the Biden administration was poised to sanction the shipment of multiple rocket launcher systems, or MRLS, to Kiev, which Ukraine had requested urgently to confront Russian artillery. However, it is evident that the U.S. is still willing to provide its ally with military support in time of need. Let's dive into the latest development and its impact on the war in Ukraine. The U.S. decision to send advanced rocket systems attempts to strike a balance between the urge to assist Ukraine in combating Russian artillery barrages and the desire to avoid providing armaments that would allow Ukraine to strike targets deep within Russia, possibly escalating the war. President Joe Biden revealed his decision to supply the Ukrainians with more modernized rocket launchers and weapons that would help them to strike vital targets on the battleground in Ukraine more effectively. On Monday, the U.S. President Joe Biden stated that Washington will not supply Ukraine with rocket systems capable of striking Russian territory. If a military system is close enough to the Russian border, it can fire into Russia. The aid package, presented on Wednesday, will deploy what the U.S. deems medium-range rockets, which can travel up to 70 kilometers or 45 miles. Ukraine will get MRLS systems, but not the MGM-140 Advanced Tactical Missile System, which has a range of 186 miles. On Wednesday, Russia slammed the U.S. move to supply Ukraine with rocket launchers and bombs, accusing the U.S. of pouring fuel to the fire. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the U.S. is purposely adding fuel to the fire by making it clear that it will fight Moscow to the last Ukrainian. Russian Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Sergei Ryabkov previously said that Moscow views Washington's military aid to Ukraine very negative. When questioned about the possibility of a direct clash between the U.S. and Russia, Ryabkov said, "Any weapon shipments that enhance the dangers of such a development. The U.S. does nothing to find some type of solution," he said, blaming Washington for the escalation of hostilities in Ukraine. Ukraine has guaranteed Washington that it will not launch rockets into Russian territory. The upgraded rocket weapons will allow Ukrainian forces to strike Russian assets within Ukraine with better precision. Ukraine is expected to use the rockets in the eastern parts of the Donbas region. These missiles are meant to intercept Russian artillery and destroy Russian positions in places like Severodonetsk, where combat is severe. Severodonetsk is crucial to Russia's ambitions to retake the Donbas before more Western armaments arrive to help bolster Ukraine's defenses. The city, which is 145 kilometers or 90 miles south of the Russian border, is located in the Luhansk region of Donbas, a final pocket under the control of the Ukrainian government. In his New York Times editorial, Biden said, "Washington is not encouraging Ukraine to attack outside its boundaries. We don't want to keep the war going only to hurt Russia." It's the 11th package to be authorized so far, and it'll be the first to tap the $40 billion in security and economic aid that Congress recently approved. The rocket launchers would be part of the Pentagon's pullback authority, which entails withdrawing weapons from the U.S. stockpiles and immediately delivering them to Ukraine. The system can shoot a medium-range rocket, which is a proposed plan, but it can also fire the Army Tactical Missile System, which has a range of around 300 kilometers. Since the conflict began in February, the U.S. and its allies have tried to tread a fine line between sending Ukraine the weaponry it needs to fight Russia, while avoiding supplying aid that would enrage Russian President Vladimir Putin and spark a broader confrontation that may spread across Europe. As the war has evolved from Russia's broader attempt to seize Kiev and other cities to more close contact clashes for small patches of terrain in the east and south, the U.S. and its allies have increased the armament going into Ukraine. To that end, President Volodymyr Zelensky has pleaded with the West to deliver multiple rocket missile systems to Ukraine as quickly as possible to stop Russia from destroying villages in Donbas. Do you think this delivery can help Ukraine swing the battle in Donbas to their favor? Let us know in the comments below.